Hey everyone, welcome back to Bookish Nook. I know it's been quite a while since I made a video. That's because I recently moved, if you can't tell. And I literally just got settled in now, so I'll be back to some regular videos. So I'm just going to start this off with my late February wrap up. I read quite a few books, so let's just dive in. The first book that I read in the month of February was The Young Elites by Marie Lu. I ended up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. I was incredibly disappointed. What I was disappointed about was just the overall everything about this book. I thought it was incredibly mediocre. The plot was really average, the characters didn't really feel exceptional in any sort of way, and then the intense sort of action sequence I felt were really downplayed and could have been much more exciting. And then sort of the moments in between these action moments were very dull and dragged out. So I ended up giving it a 3 out of 5 stars. I'm not sure if I'll continue with the second book, but we'll see. The next book that I read was The Ruby Circle by Michelle Mead. This is the 6th and final book in the Bloodline series. I ended up giving this a 5 out of 5 stars. It was so great. It felt a little bit rushed at certain moments. The overall conclusion to the story was fantastic, and I wish there was a little bit more. So hopefully Michelle Mead does write something more for this universe, because it was a lot of fun. Next thing that I read was Wonder Woman Volume 3. In the New 52 series. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. Great. Fantastic. If you're looking to read Wonder Woman, definitely start with the New 52 version. It's fantastic, especially since I have no prior knowledge or background with Wonder Woman, and this pretty much starts from scratch, so it's a great place to start. I also read Volume 4, which I gave 4 out of 5 stars as well. Cannot wait for Volume 5. Superb. The next book that I read was The Iron Trial by Cassandra Clare and Holly Black. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it, and if you know about this book, as almost everyone does, it's sort of like a cross between Harry Potter and sort of any other sort of magical book that includes children. The similarities are there, but there are also a lot of very different elements and actions going on in this series, and the characters are incredibly different from the trio from Harry Potter. So if you're a little bit worried about reading this because of the similarities to Harry Potter, don't fret. It's its own story. The next book that I read was Ferris by Marissa Meyer. This is 0.5 to the Lunar Chronicles. This is Queen Lamina's story, and I was expecting 100% to feel sympathy for Queen Lamina and to understand her actions and motivations as to, why she's doing what she's doing, and this book gives you that. But it also made me feel disgust for her character, and the sympathy was quickly thrown out the window in exchange for disgust. It was a great story. It lagged a few moments in the book, but overall it was pretty great. The next book that I read was The Bane Chronicles by Cassandra Clare and a whole mess of other authors. I had originally picked this up as the ebook forms. I think I read the first 3 stories on my e-reader and hated them. The writing was all over the place. You could tell which author was writing which. Magnus didn't seem like a complete character. He felt sort of fractioned in between what Cassandra had envisioned for Magnus and then what Sarah Rees Brennan had envisioned for him, and it was awful. So I decided to pick this up because I got it for $12. And I'm incredibly glad that I did, because I ended up giving it a 4 out of 5 stars. About halfway through with the story, Rise of the Hotel du Monde, the characters, the writing style, everything starts to blend seamlessly, and it becomes the characters have just jumped out from the Mortal Instruments into this new exciting world, well, old exciting world, since it's pretty much from the past. So I'm really glad that I ended up finishing it, because the last few stories were fantastic. The last books that I read this month was Stay With Me by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and it pains me to say that I did not enjoy this book at all. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was cliched. There was nothing unique to the story. If you've read new adult genre, you'll start to notice a pattern, and this book fits into that pattern like a glove. And I have read so much new adult, so I was hoping for something unique and inspiring, especially since her book that just released, I think a few months ago, Wicked, really sort of refreshed my perspective on the new adult genre. So I was really hoping that this one did it, and it didn't. I did not connect with the main character because she was just so annoying. She would just think stupid things and call herself dumb over and over, and then the male lead was awful. At one point he says something about trust, and it really turned me off from his character. The entire story sort of resolved really fast, and I was just incredibly disappointed. Jennifer Armentrout is one of my favorite authors, so this was a big hit to my love for her. I'm going to read the second one, Fall With Me, at the end of this month, hoping that it improves on a lot of the things I didn't like in this book. The last book that I read this month was If I Were You by Lisa Renee Jones. This is the first book in the, I think it's Inside Out series. It is an adult erotica romance novel about a woman who finds these erotic journals, and she's really enjoying them until they take sort of like a deadly dark turn, and our main character seeks out the woman who wrote it, and she sort of integrates herself into this woman's life, and she's missing, so she takes her job at an art gallery and starts to try to figure out what's going on. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy the story, but I only enjoyed the last quarter of the book. The first 3 quarters were incredibly slow and boring, but the last quarter captivated me, and I could not put the book down. I actually am going to read the rest of the series because the ending of the first book left on a huge cliffhanger, and I cannot wait to find out what happens. And the last trade paperback that I read, and I'm incredibly excited about, is She-Hulk, and I'm blanking on the names of the author and artist, but the picture's here, so names will be there. This is sort of a new series that is just finished. There's 12 issues, so there's going to be 2 volumes. This is volume 1 that I read, and it follows She-Hulk, and she's the cousin of Hulk, Bruce Banner, I think it is, and she needs a blood transfusion, which she is the only one who can give it to her, but she takes on the Hulk's capabilities, and she is a lawyer. So you watch her as Hulk become a lawyer, and she becomes a lawyer for a bunch of superheroes, and it's fantastic. I actually loved it. I cannot wait for the second volume to come out, which I think is coming out this month, so I'm definitely going to check it out. If that sounds at all interesting to you, definitely go check it out. 5 out of 5 stars. It's like the TV show Suits meets superheroes. It was a lot of fun. The last book that I read in February was I Was Here by Gail Foreman. I forgot about this one. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I was incredibly impressed. I went into this book with not lowered expectations, but I knew it got a lot of mixed reviews, and a lot of the mixed reviews centered around not enjoying the romance and thinking that the romance was a very unessential part of the story, but I disagree. I think it is an essential part of the story, and it's only on a couple of pages. Like, it's maybe a chapter or 2 that really focuses on the romance, and that's it. Most of it focuses on the suicide and our main character sort of trying to understand what drove her best friend to commit suicide and her own feelings about it, etc. It's a beautiful, amazing story about learning about yourself and learning about the other people around you and your relationships to them, and they're not always what they seem. I would definitely recommend reading this. This is my first Gail Foreman book, so I am definitely excited to read some of her other things, since I've heard nothing but good things about them, and if they're as good as I Was Here, then I'll definitely like them. So I am not doing a March TBR because I am incredibly late, so I just have a few things in mind. I've already read about a book and a half so far, so you'll see that in my wrap up for March. I'm also doing a bookshelf tour probably this weekend and a comic book haul, and I'm going to try to get back onto the Tough by Wednesday train so I can pre-record some videos to get that up for you guys. But yeah, so let me know what you read in the month of February. Thanks for watching. Bye.